Hello, my name is Caroline Barry and this is my studio. I'm here with my two dogs, Belle and Gladstone. Do you want to come up, Gladstone? Good boy. Oh, Belle's too big to lift up. Oh, but she's knocked the table. And today's the 17th of February. I didn't sleep last night. It is still lockdown in Ireland. 2021 is part of the pandemic. And I've just begun a project I'm beginning an exhibition. I'm researching an exhibition with a dear friend of mine who's a poet called Emer Fallon, and we are working on an exhibition about the women of Cuala Press. So these women some of them were sisters of WB Yeats, the poet. They lived at the beginning of the 20th century, and so I'm just going to show you what I did today's work. So, thank you. Okay. So, it's really crude, and I love that that's the way clay starts. Really crude. Okay, I'm going to refine this. Okay, so I've decided that I'm going to use the device of fabric from the fashion of the day to support the leg so that I can taper off at the ankle and build the foot. So it is a bit of a device, but it should work. So, loose at the moment, keeping it loose. You know, it may not end up being fabric. They were very, the women of, it was a collective that the women set up, that Yeats's, the poet WB Yeats' sisters set up a collective founded for women in the community to help them create arts and crafts pieces and earn a living from it. So they were very into embroidery as well, so this may end up kind of looking at the whole idea of embroidery. So really, while it's very loose, and I want to keep it as free as possible, so is that if I decide to put vegetation here, because I love vegetation and flowers and clay, or if I decide to embellish it in a state that's other than fabric. It's really just there to help stabilize the whole project. That was inky. Okay, more clay. So approaching this kind of loosely. I suppose I don't want to make these too tight in case I'd like to carve into, in case I'd like to have air or something coming through, or some kind of negative space coming through. So they're a bit like gills at the moment. I'm using red earthenware clay, and these are very elephanty legs. Yes, they seem to, but I made them thick enough so that I can carve away as well if I feel like it, some of the structure. Alright, so for my proportions from my anatomy book, I can see that the shin bone obviously is a lot smaller than the, where's my knife gone? Oh, here, I'll just use this. It's a lot smaller. Right, where's the front? This feels naturally like the front. So, that's where my kneecaps are going to go. Yeah. And then there's a, so we make it nice and loose. There is an inward movement. It's a bit too in. There's an inward expression. I'll turn around this way so you can see. Here, we have our kneecaps. This needs to broaden out. Okay, maybe I should move the camera around now. I might put the camera behind me so you can have a look as I try to figure this out myself. Okay, I really hope you can see. This is my first time recording my processes, so I love how crude it all is initially. And then the foot, so this is going to be where the chin comes in. This is the kneecap. Here's the kneecap. Shin, yeah, and then we're going to have one foot. Oh, it's very pleasing to have it so, one big foot and another foot. So they worked in the collective in Cuala Press. They were quite enlightened. They wanted to give women independence and also have artistic training. It was set up by the Yeats sisters and a textile artist. I've gone off to get some slip, and I use paper clay slip. So there's some paper in this, and you can see it's very moist, and that's just to really adhere the kneecaps. So what I love about clay is that it is, you start off extremely crude and then you can refine and refine and refine. I'm very influenced by medieval sculpture. That's a nice kneecap. Let's have a look. So this, I'm not fond of that leg now anymore. It's too anatomical, and I know that there is a nice leg. So this leg here. So here. All right. So I love the work of Irish sculptor Imogen Stewart. I've met Imogen before, and she was trained by a Bavarian sculptor in a kind of medieval tradition. And what I love about her form is she really pairs it back into a simplicity of volume, and she really gets sweetness without it being saccharine. She gets a very lovely compassion and gentleness into her work. So I'm trying to work with a certain simplicity. So I'm working on this exhibition with a poet friend of mine, Emer Fallon, and we're exploring whether these women really had a chance to be creative for themselves, or were they just propping up an awful lot of men, which sadly seems to be the case. But anyway, we're going to see if we can find them. So this is just water. I'm just misting it to keep the clay malleable. And then I'm going to wrap it in cling film.